Good morning, everyone. We'll just give it about one more minute before we get started. Thanks, everyone, for joining. All right, it looks like we have a few others trickling in, but we will go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Felicia DePaula, the program specialist with the New Mexico Economic Development Department. This is our second public briefing to go over our EDA CARES project and provide an update on the statewide plan. For those of you who are not able to join us for the first briefing, a recording is available online, and I'll put that link into the chat from our YouTube page, so feel free to review that whenever you're free. So I'm going to start off by giving a high-level overview of the project, which shows where the statewide plan fits into the scope of the larger project. So, of course, our mission at New Mexico Economic Development is to improve the lives of New Mexico families by increasing economic opportunities and providing a place for businesses to thrive. Our Cabinet Secretary is Alicia J. Keys, and our Deputy Cabinet Secretary is John Clark. You can see below our divisions within our department. So EDD received funding from the EDA CARES Act to support recovery efforts in 2020. This grant enabled us to focus on three things: hiring people to improve our capacity, improve access to capital in the public and private space, and develop a collaborative statewide economic development strategic plan that will not only look at recovery short term, but also look to the 20 years out to address the long-term planning and identify actions on how the state can diversify its economy. This is our recovery squad. 4 additional staff have been hired as part of the COVID recovery effort through the EDA's CARE grant. First, we have Jennifer Myers. She is working with regional reps, EDOs, local governments, and COGS to connect with and offer technical assistance regarding COVID resources. Jennifer will also be assisting with finance fairs and the finance finder. Next, we have Alex Greenberg, who shepherds projects from the funded initiative, boosting investment and activity in opportunity zones. Our newest member to the team is John Winscott, who is housed out of MNERD, supporting renewable energy companies in New Mexico through recruitment, educational training, and facilitating degree and apprenticeship programs. And finally, I am Felicia DePaula, and I help manage the state plan, as well as working with the Rural Efficient Business Program, helping connect businesses to energy efficient resources. So this is a model of our project overview, just to give you a visual of what everything looks like that I just mentioned. Our next slide is our statewide comprehensive economic development strategy overview. To get a broad understanding of the statewide comprehensive economic development strategy, otherwise known as the statewide CEDS, here are some top-level concepts. We've partnered with a contractor to help us with the work, SRI. They are a nonprofit research firm. As mentioned, this plan will look at 3 time frames: recovery, short-term, mid-range 5 years, and 20 years out. We're also focused on developing the 9 targeted industries. We want to create strategies and actions that will help us identify a plan for diversifying our economy and build a stronger economy as we build and deal with the negative impacts from the pandemic. The intention of this effort is to be truly collaborative. We're working with our state partner agencies, IAD, DWS, and MNERD, as well as the regional COG directors. And we have involved industries to make sure the private sector has strong involvement in this planning process. We've worked with them and the contractor to collect data and information from a variety of sources, including local communities and economic development stakeholders and industry leaders. The strategy will help guide the state agencies and policymakers as they set priorities to aid in short and long-term recovery efforts, diversify the economy, and create higher paying jobs. This plan will also include information that will help guide the newly formed Sustainable Economy Task Force. Our next slide shows our progress update. As you can see, we've already completed 4 tasks. SRI has produced 3 reports: the economic assessment, the industry SWOT, and the asset map. These documents contain the information and data that will inform the strategic plan and action plan. EDD and our partner agencies IAD, DWS, and MNERD are reviewing the final drafts. We've gotten through these components and we're about halfway through and are busy collecting follow-up information. These are our project accomplishments. So SRI has completed a detailed analysis of New Mexico's business environment, workforce, education system, innovation ecosystem, trends in income and wealth inequality, infrastructure, and environment. It has also interviewed more than 50 stakeholders, including business leaders, officials in state, regional and tribal governments, administrators in the state's higher education institutions, and economic development organizations. In addition to SRI's research on socioeconomic trends in New Mexico, SRI conducted a review of the past plans and documents developed for various entities, such as the COGS and state departments and divisions, and reports produced by relevant non-governmental stakeholders. Our next slide shows the key themes that SRI has identified based on the surveys and interviews that they've conducted thus far. There are several high-level themes which they've discovered throughout the course of its research. Slow population growth is a challenge, but can be overcome with new investments in New Mexico's communities, economy, and workforce. Income and wealth inequality is a concern which will be a focus area in the state's economic development strategies. The state has a large and diverse array of stakeholders dedicated to economic and workforce development. Alignment and coordination of their efforts is critical to achieving the state's economic development goals. New Mexico's entrepreneurs can benefit from increased access to risk capital and better legal and business resources. Rural business, small business owners can also benefit from increased broadband access. New Mexico has an abundance of natural resources and amenities that contribute heavily to the state's energy and tourism industries. These continue to be assets if the state continues to be at the forefront of the national shift towards renewable energies and invests more in outdoor recreation, infrastructure, and preservation. New Mexico has a very busy, business-friendly environment compared to most states. However, many resources available to businesses can be more accessible by simplifying application processes. Furthermore, a coordinated approach to economic development throughout the state will make New Mexico an even more attractive location to out-of-state businesses. So what is there to expect from the plan? Well, we're wrapping it all up. We're compiling all of the findings from these 4 listed documents: the economic assessment, the innovation ecosystem, the asset map, and the SWOT analysis. Actual strategy, action plan are being worked on. So this will include a detailed and actionable strategy through which New Mexico will pursue its economic development goals, and a toolkit with key performance metrics, which will be used to track and monitor plan implementation. I know that this is a really quick overview, but I really want to leave some time for some questions. So we have a couple upcoming events at EDD. On August 4th at 11 a.m., we will be hosting NMSBA and TRGR. Los Alamos and Sandia National Laboratories will be sharing information about programs and providing information to help businesses solve technical challenges and mature technology. And also apply by August 20th for the 2021 Outdoor Economics Conference Pitch Fest. This will be held October 1st in Farmington and will connect outdoor entrepreneurs with mentors and investors. So I will send this deck out to everybody who registered so that they can have these links and information. We did get a couple questions prior to the webinar asking how the public can be involved. This is the link here in this slide, and I will again provide this deck so that you can have access to the link, and feel free to ask any questions, answer any questions, reach out to Joanna Nelson, who's our strategic programs manager, or myself. So I am going to go ahead and open it up for questions. We have a few, and I think we'll just jump back and forth. Jennifer Myers, my coworker, will be joining me. I think we'll kind of jump back and forth between what we received beforehand and what comes in. So the first question we have is, how will you get underserved populations input? How will you generate innovative suggestions from non-traditional resources? So we've made it a point to be very collaborative during this effort, from IED, DWS, MNERD, the COGS, the public survey that went out to over 14,000 people have been our efforts, including the EDOs, I'm sorry, I skipped that. That has been our effort to really get the underserved populations input and just the general public input. A second question that came through was how to incentivize new startup businesses in New Mexico. SRI is helping to create the innovation ecosystem, which will assess a review of the SWOTs to help to identify strategies for development. This is also a really interesting one. We also have Alyssa Latucci, who is joining us from MNERD. So Alyssa, feel free to unmute yourself if you have a better answer than I do. But this question is, how are green jobs being factored into this plan? So one of the purposes of developing this plan is to diversify our economy and limit our dependence on extractive industries. Green energy is a targeted industry in the 9 identified, so we will identify actions to develop this industry. We also have insight into the regional perspective. This will also go hand in hand with our sustainable economy task force that we are getting set up for, I want to say the beginning of September will be our first meeting. The plan, the date has been up in the air, but when will the plan be finished and released? And we're shooting for early October to have the complete plan finished and the platform, the online platform. Another question that came through is, will you be having a section focused on rural areas of the state and focusing on jobs of the future for rural areas? This was an important issue for us. Along with the COGS, our SWOT analysis and strategies will be aligned with the 6 COG regions and what their initiatives are as well. Jennifer, do you have any questions that have come through and we can kind of jump between the two of them?
Sure, we had a couple come in. One of them, and we may have to get back to you, how many startup companies were interviewed for the assessment in the innovation section?
Okay, I do not have the question to that, but I can definitely reach out to SRI to get that exact number for you. And who asked the question, Jennifer?
I'll keep a tally. So yeah, and then another one is, when will the various SRI reports be accessible in electronic form?
So we're hoping for early October. We want to release both at the same time, the online platform as well as the finalized reports from SRI.
This one's talking about financial and legal advice are critical on how are we addressing that.
Okay, we'll definitely need to get back on that one.
In part of the plan to review New Mexico tax policy to enable entrepreneurs or businesses to move to New Mexico. So the thing they're talking about, kind of redoing our tax policy to make it attractive. I'm not sure if that's a component of the plan, but it sounds like there is some incentives that are in there.
Yeah, definitely. Whether that come through sustainable energy, whether that comes through what MNERD already has available. There are definitely efforts that are being made to bring in and sustain retention of businesses in New Mexico.
And there's one more question. How will you do the analysis of prioritizing sectors for the investment of, and names off a couple: tourism, photonics, space, and bioscience? So they're talking about prioritizing the sectors for investment.
That, I want to get back to you on that question as well. I want to make sure that we have the correct answer.
Yeah, and the people that are submitting these questions, we have your contact information so we can follow up with you after the presentation.
Perfect. Okay, well, we can jump back into a couple others and then head back to you again, Jennifer, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So how is EDD ensuring that BIPOC leadership in economic development? Collaboration on the front, we have our JEDI coordinator, we have IAD, and this is going to be the foundation for the Sustainable Economy Task Force, where those voices are really heard. Another great question is, are tribes incorporated in the strategic plan? EDD mentioned this at the IAD 2020 summit with Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. Thanks for asking that question, Po Queen, and thank you for serving on the SEAC as a rep for IAD. IAD has been involved from the beginning and has been extremely helpful in identifying key stakeholders and leaders to provide input. So the tribal communities have definitely been observed during this plan. What is the status of the science and technology plan component? We're going to get that answer from our director here at EDD to get a really justified answer on that. What plans support regional collaboration? So again, we've worked with the COG, state agencies, EDOs, and other stakeholders to compile over 50 state, regional, and local plans. And we're trying to encompass much of the work already done to build upon it. I know that one of the COG EDs had reached out, asking that work not be duplicated and that everybody be on the same page. And these plans have very much been taken into consideration to build the goals that we're trying to build with our statewide plan. Do we have any other questions that came in, Jennifer, that I might be able to answer?
Sure. This is talking about the interviews for the accelerator programs. If they were interviewed, or if they were reviewed to gain insight on what works and what doesn't. So it's specific to different accelerator programs, past and present.
So they're asking based off of like the information we've compiled from SRI, or?
Oh, yes.
So we haven't yet finished editing the documents. We've really taken our time because we want to ensure that every agency involved has say in it. So we haven't yet released that information, but once it is out and about for the public eye, we can definitely answer that.
And then there's a couple people that have asked that if we could post all of the questions and answers to everybody so everybody could get the information that we submit to the individuals that have asked questions.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea. We can get it posted. I can send it in an email with the deck, and then we can try to get that on our website as well.
We also have a question that says, once the reports are released and public critiques are submitted, is there a wrap-up phase planned?
I believe that we have a wrap-up scheduled, or we're trying to figure out the details of that. But yes, it's going to be something I don't think it's just going to be a small rollout. I think it's going to be something exciting that the public will be a part of.
Another question is about the release date in October. Is that firm?
We do not have a firm set date, but we are anticipating October.
And this is in reference to the EDA NOFOs, because they may want to be submitting their NOFOs, and they reference the state plan.
And yet, and you may be a better individual to answer that. The NOFOs are kind of something that we're still really just trying to figure out. And in fact, that's why Joanna couldn't be here today, because she had a big meeting that came up. I don't know that it's in reference to the NOFOs, but I know it's a heavy topic of conversation right now this week.
Let's see. When will the draft document be available for input?
Immediately. The sooner the better. We would like you to get surveys filled out if you haven't completed those right now. Like I said, SRI along with our state agencies are already working on drafts. So if you review something in the survey that you think is relevant, you want to touch on, please reach out to myself or Joanna Nelson so that we can get that feedback back to our agencies and to SRI.
The data in New Mexico is fairly sparse. How are you dealing with the issue in the strategic plan?
You know, we've done a great job of reaching out to stakeholders, and that's where we really want to compliment, MNERD, higher education, IAD, because they've really stuck on task of providing some great contacts for us. and they've done a great job of sticking on them to ensure that they're answering and referring back to the surveys and responding to SRI. So we've just done it through great collaboration.
Okay. And you've already kind of mentioned this, but maybe reiterate it. How is rural villages being included in the survey and the study?
Sure. So like I said, we've referenced the SEDS that each COG region has created. We've worked closely with all EDs in their respective COG regions, as well as recovery coordinators. So we've worked closely to ensure that our plan is aligning with what has already been put out there, addressing any needs or concerns or what's working in rural communities. So it's, in short, the answer is collaboration through the SEDS.
This one is in reference to just our overall state programs and other programs being given real-time and past-time results if they're being factored into the plan.
Can you say that again, Jennifer?
They're just referencing, the different state programs that we've rolled out, like the LEDA $500 million. If they look at the loans and the grant programs, if those have been considered in the plan, the past results to see if they're effective or not.
Yeah, definitely. We're collaborating very closely with every director at our agency to ensure that all corners are touched.
And then somebody's asking for the 9 targeted industries. I don't know if you know them off the top of your head, but we can definitely send them out.
Yeah, we can definitely send them out. I would be lying if I had them memorized. I should by now, but we can definitely include a slide that has those in there.
Let's see. Okay. Okay, this is the work of the World Economic Forum on the 4th Industrial Revolution influencing the plan. That seems pretty specific, so I'm not sure if you would know that.
I do not. Yeah, we can
So again, we'll follow up.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we're at a stopping point.
Okay, and I can finish off with a couple more that I have. If anything comes to mind while I'm reading through these, please feel free to ask. If we don't have the answer now, we certainly will get you an answer. So the next question that we have on our list is, I guess it's more of a statement, but they're wanting to state the inclusion and impact on New Mexico Pueblos and tribal nations. So again, we've worked closely with IED, who's done an excellent job at involving Pueblos and stakeholders to get their input. Another big one that, Alyssa, if you're there, you might want to jump in on this one. Senate Bill 112 and Senate Bill 11 and natural gas production should go hand in hand. What supporting provisions will there be? Lots of hydrogen in natural gas, and I know that this is definitely an MNERD conversation.
Yeah, hi, thanks for including me on this. Yeah, so we've reached out to some stakeholders in the hydrogen industry to get their perspective, because we know that it's an important industry for the state. So it's definitely something that we're keeping in mind for the analysis.
Was there anything else you wanted to touch on, Alyssa, as far as the 9 targeted industries, or anything that I may have left out? Or
no, I think you covered a lot of it. When you mentioned the jobs in the clean energy industry, that you mentioned at the beginning that we hired John Winscott, and his focus will really be to support the industry through training of workers and bringing in new apprenticeship programs and that kind of thing. So it's definitely something that is a really top priority for us, and we're excited to really kind of see the analysis and see what we can do to help the industry out.
I mean, MNERD has been an amazing, played an amazing role in this process. So reach out to Alyssa or John with any questions and, relevant to what she's speaking about. And that's all I have on my end as far as questions go. If any last minute questions came up, Jennifer, we can try to answer them. If not, we'll certainly get an answer by the end of the day or tomorrow.
Yes, no more questions, but everybody had some really good questions. So we'll definitely have some time to review them and we'll send that all off. As Felicia mentioned, a lot of people had to jump off this meeting to go attend another meeting. So we'll definitely circle back with everybody.
Yes, and thank you everyone so much for your patience and for joining in. Again, please feel free to reach out to Alyssa, John, Jennifer, myself, Joanna. We're all contacts on this. And again, thank you. And I will get this deck sent out. Please complete as many surveys as you can by the end of the week. That would be super helpful for us to retain more results. But again, thank you everyone for joining. And that is it on the public update of our statewide plan. Thank you.